So you experience with the divine truth teaching, with the, like you say, the way to God, your personal experience. There are a few questions. I have a few questions. Well, quite a big list, basically about it. Well, would you like to share what mistakes have you done when you first discovered the divine truth teaching? I understand now it's 11 years ago, and in the first years, like mistakes, I mean things that you believed to be true and they were kind of self-deception, and also or error that you make, like in the sense that you think, oh, I'm progressing that way, and then you discover, well, it's not really progression, or actually I'm regressing. What kind of experience you have had on that respect that you would like to share for the benefit of others?
I think when I first found out about the truth, I was thinking that I wanted to have time out from the world for a few years so as I could release some emotions and get happy. Yeah. And so I relinquished some of my responsibilities at around that time without being accountable for my responsibilities, especially as a father. So me and my wife separated. I wanted to support my wife in her new life, so I was willing to, in any way I could. So the 3 children stayed with me for the first nearly year, and I was happy with that, but I could have been a better parent and been more attentive to them at that time. I was fairly self-absorbed. They say now that they enjoyed the freedom of going out and doing things, but I wish I had more boundaries. My 2 boys were about 10 and 12, and so I regret that. So that's one regret. Also, my daughter, for the 3 children, I wish that I was just more present, more attentive to them, as well as focus on myself. And I wished I had have asked people's assistance, because I was quite alone and a bit lost in my own emotional journey. So that's one regret. A second big regret is that I chose to move from where we were, and I gave my children the option to come with me or to stay in that town and go to the same school and live with their mother. But in doing that, I really was happy to be alone and not to have to look after the children, so I could focus on my emotions. It was quite a selfish motivation, really. And my children really needed me close by as well. So I'm quite regretful that I left without taking full responsibility for the kids, and as a consequence they sort of felt quite abandoned and deserted that I moved away. And I'd come back every couple of weeks and have a weekend and things like that, but I thought that was adequate. But they were struggling living with their mother and that, and I didn't really want to see the truth of that. And so that has hurt them quite a bit as young adults. And I'm just sort of coming to grips with that now, and been talking with the children about that now, and sort of just really owning up to how I let them down, at a difficult time in their life when their parents had separated and things. So that's a big regret. Another big regret is my arrogance towards people, that I know the truth and I automatically am more superior and I know more things, and whereas the truth is actually I'm probably more confused, or have been more confused than a lot of people, and actually have got quite quite even more manipulative, you know, in getting what I want than other people in a dishonest sort of a using way. So I sort of feel quite regretful that I've allowed myself to be like that and to use divine truth, teaching or label or something that automatically makes me feel okay. Coming from insecurity, of course, coming from anything, use anything to help me to feel okay instead of just not feeling okay, you know. So, so that's...
Yeah, getting away from our life because we think we need to be by ourselves to feel our emotion is something that I see a lot.
Yes.
And I've gone through that. So
yes.
What you experience with your family, and so many people, they understand the divine truth teaching is about I need to just have time for myself, and so yes. I need to let go all the other responsibility, and it's an error.
Yes.
Because it's about responsibility. Joy comes from responsibility
yes.
in real life, and not
yes.
to separate ourselves from others and
yes.
from our life.
Yes.
So it's a very important thing, and
yes.
if others can do not the same error, that would be really good for them.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
No, that's right.
And the other thing is about when we discover divine truth. You speak about being arrogant, but when I first discovered divine truth, I was feeling I know better, and lots of people, and I see people coming from overseas or living overseas, and they never had the feedback or whatever, and they feel, in the beginning, this feeling like I got it all sorted, I understand all, and actually it was all intellectual.
Yes.
It was not in my heart, and
yes.
I had this feeling, and so what you shared about, I think it's the case for lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only with time that we come to see that,
yes.
We don't understand much, we understand very little, and
yes.
this teaching needs to go in our heart.
Yes. And
until it's in our heart, the truth, we don't know yet, really.
Yes. And with, with this arrogant sort of a view, which covers over an insecurity, the more I connect with the wrongness
yes.
of that and feel how bad that is on the other person to be put down or judged in that way, the more I'm connecting with people in a real way, because I don't have that sort of arrogance, but also the more happier and lighter my life is becoming, because I'm seeing the truth of myself. And anyway, a lot of sort of barriers are coming down, and I'm feeling a lot more freedom the more I focus on, wow, I'm really like that, wow, that feels pretty bad. But it's liberating to see the truth of those things. And with my children especially, I had this realisation. I was going to see my daughter one day, and I had this realisation how I actually use her in a needy way to feel like a good parent. So I'll come along and I'll be the good parent. And when I realised that was quite an imposition on her, I sort of connected with just to be myself with her as a friend, as a person, because she's a young adult now, and our relationship totally changed. And the more that I've connected with my error in being selfish and not being there for the children, not taking full responsibility in their young life, the more I see the truth of that, again, it's changing it's helping me to connect with them in a real way. And now it's quite beautiful. My sons ring me every couple of days and talk for an hour or so often. They're sort of really learning about themselves, and but the less investment I have as being their dad and wanting something from them, and the more truly I see myself, the more free they are to be themselves with me, which is a very beautiful thing.
brings joy.
Yeah,
Brings joy.
yes, it's really and real connection. That's right. Yeah. So it's lovely.
Yeah.
You know? And they're very honest with me, which is beautiful. You know, they'll tell me straight. You know?
They feel they can be. Right now.
Yeah, which is awesome.
It's awesome for them. Yeah. What does means living the way, like in Divatron's teaching, Jesus talks about living the way.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you, and do you believe you are on the way to God, on the path to God, that you are living the way?
Look, I think being on the way is really being very God-focused. And that means not wanting a woman to rescue me from my pain, but seeing God as my mother, as my real parent. And often I don't do that. Often I have the addiction and want people to give me approval and stuff like that, mostly actually these days. So I feel like I'm sometimes on the way when I have a God focus, and also when I am accepting, when I'm not blaming others. I think when I'm angry or blaming others or seeing others as fault, instead of owning my law of attraction, I think that means is being on the way when I'd be sincere in loving other people and not blaming them and accepting what comes into my life as my opportunity to release emotion, you know. Okay. So I think I'm seldomly on the way, actually, which is a bit sad, actually, you know. But I in saying that, actually, I see that not as a judgment upon myself. I see that as just, you know, where I want to get to, just somewhere to get to. So I think that. And
be truthful is also, there is some joy in being truthful.
Yeah.
Like pretending.
Yes, that's right.
Something that is not even true.
Yes,
doesn't
that's
bring
right.
any joy.
No, that's right. Totally. Yeah.
Would you like to share a bit about some personal feedback you have received from Jesus and Mary that has been very helpful to you and that could maybe be beneficial to others?
Yes, I don't know. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to have some personal feedback from Jesus and Mary. More recently, just about my denial of my anger and the Catholic sort of view which I hold on to want to be a good person and to hold on to this image of myself instead of allowing myself to really just be me, to really be truly me, let my hair down and be myself, you know. So that's a big error which I have. I have sort of attracted Christian spirits, I think, who I like and who like me, who want to be the same, want to be seen as a good person, you know. That's a big thing. But also big addiction with wanting a woman's approval, quite afraid of woman's rejection and a woman's anger and men's anger as well. So they've sort of helped me to see those sort of things. Also how things which I've created in my life which have been of my own doing, like being so needy for the woman's approval that I would tie myself into some women's life so they're sort of dependent on me because I'd want to set that up. And sometimes out of guilt, that's my job as a man to rescue the woman, and sometimes out of needing their approval and things. So those are the main things that I can think of, you know.
Would you qualify this feedback as surprising to you, or there were things you already knew?
Look, I'd say not surprising. I'd say it's sort of like, yes, that's me. It's sort of like it hits home. It's like, wow, yep, that's right. That is right, you know. I think nearly all the feedback, or any sort of feedback which I've got from Yeshua and Mary has been, or other people, like other friends sometimes give me feedback and they say, mate, I think you're missing this, or, you know, can you see this in yourself? I think nearly all feedback has got some got some truth to it, and I see it pretty straight up. I say, oh, yep, wow, that hurts, or I don't want to see that, or I don't, you know, so.
Lots of people, they get angry, very resistant when they receive a feedback. I have been really angry at some point. It feels like, would you say you are open to feedback?
I think that, I don't think I get angry. I'm not, you know, I wished I was more open. At times I'm open, but at times I might hear it and then forget it straight after, which shows I'm not open. You know, so, but I don't feel I get angry. Sometimes I feel ashamed if I get that sort of feedback, especially if other people listen. I think, oh, people can really see what I'm like, and I want to hide from that sort of.
Are you looking for? Are you looking forward to receive feedback about yourself? Yes
and no, because at times, like I say, I feel ashamed and I don't want to. I don't want to. Whereas I want to say yes. You know, I like feedback. Often feedback is given to me in a way that I feel criticised. I'm not saying from Jesus and Mary, because I know they love me and they don't criticise me. They want to support me, and so that's beautiful when I receive feedback from those guys. But other friends and that, you know, and from women sometimes, because I've got the illusion that I'm superior. Sometimes I feel quite ashamed if I get feedback from women, and I sort of, so I'm not that open to that, I think, you know. And probably angry as well, probably some passive anger. I think if women are, no, I think that'd be true. I think I have had some passive anger towards women if they give me feedback, you know.
Like, who are you to give me a feedback, or how dare you? You know.
Yes, a bit of that, and especially if it sort of comes a bit defensive themselves, if they're hurting a bit. So I know I've given feedback to people because I don't like what they're doing. So, and if they give me feedback because I don't like what I'm doing, so that sort of, you feel it's
that's something pretty common also that I've known a lot, and I've been practicing the first years when I discovered divine truth, like just giving feedback because you want to control the other and that they change their attitudes toward you.
Yes, it's bad. I know.
And this is a mistake. Also, it's it's just hurting more.
It is hurting more.
Yes.
And it's sort of arrogant as well. It's using their error to get what I want,
and imposing ourselves on the other. Not wanting to hear any feedback in the first place.
No, that's right.
I'm going to read it because it's a bit of a long question, but Divine Truth teaching tell that most of our grief, or fears and addiction have their origin in how our parents or caretakers treated us. So most of our problems as an adult come from our childhood.
Yes.
And how they related to us based on their own definition of what is loving.
Yes.
And so we learn this definition of love, and that's our definition of love as an adult.
Yes.
And unless we do something, it will pass on to our children, and from generation to generation to generation, until someone decide to address it and start to change and release this definition and take on the definition of God's, what is truthful and what love is really.
Yes.
Would you consider that you have a desire for that in your family, or have you start?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you a motivation for that?
Yes, totally. And I think this is an awesome opportunity for me to stop this line of error in me, so it won't go on to my children's children and so forth. So I think it's a beautiful opportunity.
Is that a motivation for you?
Yes, a huge motivation. Yeah. And huge, and also a huge motivation to demonstrate to the world, you know, how you can get happy. How you can get happy and be yourself as well.
It's the fact that you have children playing a big role in your motivation?
Yes.
Yes. Of course, for people who have no children, they don't have such a motivation, because the fact that you have children and you see the impact of how you are on your children, it's in a way like a support or a help for people to want to not do that anymore.
Well, it is, but I also feel the grief and guilt at how I've damaged my children from my error. So I feel I need to make it up to my children to correct the damage which I've done, and so that's another motivation. So that is, but I feel it's an equal motivation to all my brothers and sisters in the world to show them how you can connect with God and get happy.
I share about your children because, not everybody coming here and interview as children, and and your 3 children, I think you are the first one who has children or something, and I can see there is a lot of motivation about repairing the wrong and things like that. But I see some people, they just don't want to have children because they don't want to do hurt to children, and that's also wrong. Because actually it's, and I'm part of them. I thought like, I don't want to have children because I want first to heal and not to give my pain and my problem to them.
Yes.
But I'm sharing that because it's also, I see other people also taking this course of action, and that's just an avoidance of wanting to take responsibility, because obviously there is a lot of opportunity in wanting to improve and correct and change and grow and be more loving in having children, and making error in the first place, being unloving sometimes, but growing a desire to repair. I see it as a great opportunity, because when you change, you can see very quickly, as you shared, your children, your relationship with your children is directly impacted when, even if you don't talk to them, when you change on your side.
Yes, and I see them developing as I develop, and that's a beautiful thing to see, you know. So
I was a parent for a few years, and I did some experience with owning my emotion, and I saw how it impacts little children, and it's a really good way to grow faith into the impact of our own emotions onto others, because children are so sensitive. So it's an excellent opportunity for people who wants to experiment about divine truth and see if it's true, if they are children. You shared a little bit about that, but what would you say is your biggest challenge? You measure issue that if you deal with that, it would change your life for good.
My aloneness and fear, sort of being alone, and insecurity, sort of like that, and so and that's very connected with my mother and a need for a woman in my life, or the woman's approval. So I think that's my biggest single issue, really, and the biggest issue which I struggle with, you know, and have got a lot of grief about, fear and grief, you know.
Do you often pray these days, and what for? And does your prayer got answered, and do you know when they are answered or not, and why?
So my time in prayer is more, like I've said before, being present to God, and more to develop a friendship with God, and not so much asking for something specific. And so if I do ask for something specific, like I'd like my soulmate in my life, you know, I sort of realise pretty soon that I don't really want my soulmate in my life, because I've got too many fears and insecurities about that. So I see the truth of the truth of why it's not happening. But I do regularly pray. I pray daily, and I pray for perhaps an hour or so a day, you know, but it varies because often I sit in prayer and reflection and that, like of a morning. My routine sort of goes a little bit like early in the morning I feel most energetic to get into some emotion, and I feel strongest emotionally. I feel like I can, and also my dreams often can show me some anger which I have towards some people, or some sadness I have in some respect. And so often I try to allow myself to be humble and soft in the morning for a few hours, and until I feel like I want to, because I'm self-employed at the moment, it's a nice freedom, then I can go to work and do the work that I want. And then over the afternoon and the evening, at times I have really sort of feel quite depressed, quite sort of struggling with myself, and don't want to really soften into stuff that much. And at those times, or if I don't feel like work at all, you know, I don't work, you know, at the moment, for those few hours or for that day or whatever. And then of an afternoon and evening, I often spend time in nature, just in prayer and reflection before bed. You know, I spend a good bit of time, and also in review of the day often, you know. And
would you say your prayer are not very different than your prayer when you were a Catholic? Like, it's for friendship with God and sharing with God.
Yes,
it's a big part. You were already you grew up already in that. It's a bit easier for you, maybe.
well, it is, and I've had and then in the priesthood, I had a lot of opportunity to pray. It was beautiful. I did a 40-day retreat, silent retreat in Canada, and not many people. And then for sections for a week or longer, I would get to go to a beautiful location and have that time in prayer. That's a beautiful gift. Not many people in their whole life would get that opportunity to spend large amounts of time in prayer and reflection. The difference a bit now with my prayer is that I'm seeking the truth with God's connection and love. So I'm seeking the truth about myself, what I need to be honest with myself about, and with my own sin or insecurities and stuff, and also my own, you know, hurts and stuff, you know. So
could I say that truth has become a major part of your prayer?
Yes.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I once asked Jesus if he was praying all the time, and he for God's love, and he said obviously not, because you need really to be quiet and time for yourself and to ask for God's love. But he told me, I'm praying for truth all the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very good. That's nice.
That's how truth is important, and whatever you do, you can be absorbed in anything working.
Yes.
But your desires for truth is your prayer.
Yes.
If you have a desire for truth in the heart,
yes.
And some people do, it's pretty rare.
Yes.
Like you are praying all the time, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good to hear that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, you can have that prayer all the time.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll try that.
Yeah. it's about developing a desire for truth, really.
Yes.
And it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You talk about a bit. You practice in the morning, a bit in the evening, about prayer. Do you have other particular practices that helps you in the journey to have a relationship with yourself and God?
A little bit. I haven't been good at being honest with myself with anger, releasing anger. A friend of mine had an old car and we smashed it up with a sledgehammer, and we just keep smashing it up. That was quite good, just to give ourselves something to wreck, you know. And
screaming and everything, doing
as
much noise as you could, and talking your anger out, and
a bit, but letting out the force was good. So, you know, I've got a punching bag and a baseball bat, and that's helpful because I feel like it's really physical for me. Screaming out a bit's helpful. Movies I find very helpful. I find them soften me. Some movies about some inspiring people and about love stories I find really beautiful. And also I enjoy them. I enjoy different characters, and I find music quite opens my heart and beautiful, and I enjoy that as well. And that's part of sort of my desire, learning about my desires and sort of learning about what I like and allowing myself to have and want what I like and to be myself more and stuff like that. And so that's sort of evolving a bit,
Okay. When you were talking about you punching back and you experiment with anger, and in which way was it beneficial, or is it beneficial to you?
Because I've been a bit pretty much the opposite of that. Never be angry, always be pleasing, always be helpful. To admit to myself, I hate that bastard, to sort of just allow that feeling in myself, that childhood tantrum, because I never thought I had that. It's sort of being true to myself about my real feelings, that I want to hurt that person. The truth is I want to hurt him, and it's just a feeling. I'm not going to go and hurt the person.
And how do you feel after you just release this anger? Is there a change, or you just...
Yeah, mostly a change. Mostly a change. See, if I think I want to hurt this person, it comes back to I want to hurt Dad, and then I would often feel some sadness how I felt hurt by Dad, or Dad hasn't loved me, and I would actually have a cry about how vulnerable and frightened and unloved I felt in that situation, More recently, if I have a bit of a tantrum and hit the punching bag about someone who's been unkind, I often come back to the realisation that I'm unkind in my demands or expectation or manipulation of people. And it's quite humbling to think, oh, gee, look at me. I'm looking at other people, but I need to look at me and see the truth of...
So it has been helpful in two different ways.
Yes.
One, to bring you, it's like a doorway to some grief, childhood grief.
Yes.
And the other thing is like it helps you to become aware of things, to actually, it opens your awareness and your heart to
the truth of myself.
To the truth, by just expressing out your anger. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Would you like to share some faith building experience in your experiment with God's laws, with God, with your law attractions, with law desires, some faith building experience that would inspire maybe others?
Okay. I've got a couple of little ones. Like I have a lot of personal shame and sexual shame, and when I'd go to a caravan park, there's a lot of toilets, like in cubicles, and I'd find it really difficult to go to do a poo, to go to the toilet when there's other people outside and they could hear me. I felt so ashamed and impossible to do that. But after I sort of just went and sat on the... And I wasn't able to go to the toilet, and felt some shame, it changed. And now I can do that. So that's a shift.
Yeah.
My son worked on a fishing boat, which was quite a small fishing boat with 3 other workmen, and they would do a wee off the side of the boat. And he felt too ashamed to do a wee off the side of the boat. And he rang me quite distressed that he wasn't able to go to the toilet all day while he's on this fishing boat. And I said, this is what he really needs to do if he needs to get through this. He has to feel how ashamed he feels about himself. He got that, and he felt his shame, and he was weeing after that. So those two things are really good. With my children, which I've already sort of talked about, when I've sort of connected to my error, our relationship has changed, and it has freed them to be themselves with me. So that's been a beautiful thing. Also, different times when I've had a cry about. There was a girl who was a friend who was angry with me because of something I said, and when I had a good old cry about how hurt I was about that, I just felt a lot of freedom within myself to not be so needy for a woman, and that is continuing. The more that I release of my fear and anger and sadness about women, the more I feel that I have some love for them and less neediness for them, you know. So I feel it's working. Yeah.
What about you? What about God? Would you like to share some faith building experience you had in your relationship with God?
Yeah.
Or if you build in your building relationship, or in your friendship with God.
No, that's a good question. Well, just like this morning, I was taking some time to pray and prepare for this and that, you know, and it just again I felt a connection with God, and I sort of just came back to myself, and anyway, I just felt really supported, I think. And then I got sort of a moment of some time of just feeling quite contented. And then I got a law of attraction where I got a text of a woman being angry with me, a woman that I've had a bit to do with that's angry with me about something. And that was opportunity then to go and feel how I felt about that. And that brought up some more clarity, but that sort of happened in prayer. And then as I was driving here, I felt a bit nervous about this interview, and I thought I was just praying that for us and that would go okay. And in that time, I felt, I guess, supported just to trust and to be myself, and to that was good support as well. So.
Have you used willpower to try to change and becoming more loving? And how did that go for you? Did that work?
Yes, I've used willpower a lot, and I think use willpower at times. And it's the Catholic sort of traditional way to do things. And you know, I asked AJ a question that, is it about discipline? And he said, no, you want it to be about discipline. He said it's about surrender. Often I resort back to the Catholic good boy sort of thing as a game plan to live my life. But the more I realise it's about surrender, and it's not about willpower, you know, the better things go.
Well, do you feel it as a truth in your heart today?
Surrender?
Yes, that it's about surrender.
Yeah, I do.
The way to God.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Often I don't.
Yeah.
I think, but often it's intellectual. But I do feel that
yes.
that is the way.
A fair bit of the divine truth teaching is about the spirit world and about the possibility to talk to people who have passed, like, and obviously any small children has a natural ability to talk to people who are in the spirit world, so people who have passed.
Yep.
But it seems that we lose that when we are growing up.
Yep.
And my question is about, have you been experimenting with your own mediumship ability? And if so, if you can share a bit what has been helpful?
Experimenting only on a very small level, really. And what has been happening is that I am aware when spirits support me and help me, especially. Like when I'm doing tasks I'll be reminded of things. I'll be supported in sometimes my error. Sometimes when I'm with people, I'll have an urgency to say something, which is actually out of a needy sort of look at me, attention-seeking sort of a thing. And I'm sort of reminded at those times more now that, just hold that sort of thought, and you don't have to sort of say that. So I'm being supported in my life more and more by spirits.
Would you say you are more and more supported, or you are more aware of the support?
Yes, I'm more and more aware of the support. But in the end, because I'm aware of it, I'm sort of taking that support more. And if a thought gets dropped in my mind, I'll often follow it up, like, ring somebody or something like that, whereas before I would dismiss it, but now I often think, I think that's
intuition,
my friends.
What is called intuition?
Yeah, I'm more intuitive about the spirits' interaction with me.
What we learn in Divine Truth teaching, like Jesus is talking about, intuition is often like a spirit person sharing something with us. Right?
Yes, that's right, yes.
And so you are more and more in tune with it. That's part,
And also, out of the corner of my eye, sometimes I just think, there's some guys over there. There's some people over there. I wonder who you are. What are you guys doing, you know? But I'm frightened to really...
You mean you see?
When I say see, I'm aware, but I don't see their figures and that. But I just think, there's someone there, you know?
But do you hear them?
No, I don't hear them and I don't see them, but I'm aware that they're there, and I sort of acknowledge their awareness, you know, and I wonder why they're there, you know, what's going on, sort of.
Do you know? Well, we learn also in Divine Truth teaching that everybody has a guide.
Yes.
A person that is there to help us in our journey to love, and also a guide and spirits. What is the other guy? We have two persons.
Guardian?
The guardian. The one caring for our physical life, basically. Yes. Are you aware of them, and do you know a bit about them?
Look, mostly not. Mostly not. You know, I was told their names and was sort of a bit... It was one stage in my life I spent some time with a medium, and I sort of became more aware of them, but mostly not, you know, mostly not tuned into those guys, you know. And I think also is that I have spent a little bit of time where people have channeled some spirits, and they've been in such a high condition of love that it's quite challenging being in their presence, and I think that's partly reason why I feel...
You kind of push them away?
Yes, they're sort of so loving and nice and that, you know, it's sort of,
One of the teachings, I've been there actually, it's a seminar about sleep states. So I learned that we go every night in a deep sleep, and every night we have dreams, but we go out of body in the spirit life, and we go on with our life, with a life of our own. But most of us, we forget when we come back into our body in the morning, and we forget what has been happened. Are you aware in your own experience of sleep state, what you are doing during the night, and are there some experience that you wish to share for the benefit of others?
I don't have any. I remember my dreams often, but I don't recall ever remembering a sleep state experience. Perhaps I have not made the distinction between which is a dream and which is a sleep state experience, but to me it just seems like dreams.
Why? What the difference to you between sleep state and dream?
I think a sleep state would be more real, and it would be sort of, I would remember it like something that did happen yesterday. Whereas a dream is a bit more sort of, it's sort of, I don't know the right word, but it's sort of weird in the different things which happen, and you can jump from one scene to another, and different things can be happening, and often some things really intense, like falling off a ladder, or you know, or driving too fast or something like that, you know. So yeah, that's all my memories of dreams. Anyway.
Would you say you have a relationship with God? How is your relationship with God? How would you describe it?
Look, I think it's growing, developing, and I think that I need to continually build on it, and because the world can take me away from my relationship with God in one day, you know, and it's something which when I make the effort, like connecting with a person, I get the rewards, and I really experience the joy of connecting with a beautiful person, you know. And so it's sort of like that, but it's it's quite confronting, my relationship with God, because it's not easy seeing myself, the truth of myself all the time, and see the truth of my errors and insecurities and confusion and all that. So it's not for the faint-hearted, sort of, you know. It's not all a feel-good thing. It's quite a challenging thing to have a relationship with God, I feel, and that's hard, you know. It's a beautiful thing, but it's not an easy thing at this stage, you know.
Until we really desire the whole truth and we enjoy the whole truth, it's going to be a difficult journey.
Yeah. But and even the whole truth will hurt, you know.
And even the whole truth will
So in a sense, relationship with God, to me,
it's more that a resistance to the truth that hurts, that the truth self. Yeah, because like feeling it out doesn't really hurt. It's like all our resistance to feeling that is the pain.
Seems like it hurts to me as well. Anyway, hearing the truth is like, oh no, you know. And so I agree, but anyway, it seems like the truth.
Yeah, it seems like that to me as well.
I might be wrong saying that, I don't know, but well, it's because the pain is already in us, right? Because when we will have no pain in us, we can still hear the truth, and we won't hurt. Yeah, no, that's right.
Well, it's just my understanding. Yeah. Do you believe you received some of God's love, personal love, and would you like to share about that?
Yeah. I feel like I regularly receive God's love. When I say that, I mean sometimes not for a month or two or something, but I might be wrong saying that, because I often cry daily, even if it's just when I'm working and I hurt myself, or listen to a bit of music, or just something happens, and I'm often sort of soft like that, and that's quite good. And then sometimes after that I feel a sense of my heart sort of opens a bit more, or I soften, and sometimes then I can feel God's love for me in that sort of soft, open, sort of humble place. And then sometimes when I've sort of been watching movies and that, like day after day, I feel like, I get into a space of a softness, and I just think about God and how wonderful God is at those times, and I feel God loves me at those times. So at times I've got into a pattern of, wow, this is great, you know. I can just sort of know how to open my heart sometimes, you know. Mostly not, but at times I have, which is really beautiful.
It feels like your love for God has been very helpful in your connecting with God and receiving. It's like you have more. You are more grateful than most of other people, and your friendship and love for God has been really helpful in in growing and receive some of God's love.
I think so.
Yeah.
A question I asked AJ, I said, what drives your love of God? Is it you knowing the benefits? And he said, no. He said, it's because I know God. And that strikes me. It's like, wow, this most wonderful person, you know, is God. And when you know this person, why wouldn't you desire that person?
You can only love this person when you know this person.
Yes, that's right.
That's what it means.
That's right. The more you get to know God, the more you love God. And that's why Jesus loves God so much, because he knows God. You know, he's got a beautiful love of God.
But the love of God that he has after 2,000 years is very different than the love of God he has when he was a kid, probably.
Yeah, although that in the Bible it talks about his love of God, and that's what struck me. This man loves God.
How can you love God when you don't know God yet?
But he knew God, like in the Bible.
When he was
of course.
A small kid, he didn't know God yet.
No. Well, I guess at times before he knew God, no, that's right. Before he knew God, he couldn't.
He had to learn.
Yes.
To discover God, to love God.
Yes, that's right.
So you need to have a desires at least to explore that.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
And you had always these desires. You too, to discover God.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
Partially from your parents, but there is something in you that is different to your siblings.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a bit.
And I'd say my mum and dad do have a sincere desire to know and love God as well, which is a beautiful thing I've got from them, you know.
So that's a good thing to be born in this family for this aspect at least.
Yes, that's right.
not all bad.
That's exactly right. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
to start off with some faith, you know, to have faith demonstrated to you. It is a beautiful
gift.
It is a beautiful gift. Yeah.
You know, I wish I was growing in a family where they believe God exists.
Yeah.
Not many people have that gift.
No. No, that's right.
I mean, it's not just to go to church for the facade and but a real desire to know God. Yeah.
No,
it's pretty rare. Question about soulmate. Yeah, and it's also a part of in Divine Truth teaching. We learn that we are not a full soul, but we are half of a soul, and that there is another half who is our soulmate, or the other part of our own self, created by God. So, have you discovered who have your soulmate, and what is your relationship with your soulmate?
I only really think a girl is my soulmate, so I'm not sure. So
do you believe first you have a soulmate?
Oh, yes, I do believe that teaching. Yes, I do believe that, and I long to be back with my other half. You know, I think that's an awesome thing, and so I've just had this feeling for a number of years that this girl, who was a bit younger than me and grew up just near me, and maybe my soulmate, and I didn't know how to contact her. And it just happened that her mother contacted me, who I know a little bit because they used to live nearby, and invited me for Christmas, their last Christmas, and her daughter was there for Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got to spend some time with her and that, and she is in a relationship with a man, but I got to know her better, and so she's the one who sort of believes the teachings,
She believes the teachings?
She believes the teachings.
Before you met her?
Oh, no.
After?
I explained. She's been having, sort of going through a transition in her life of, realising some things and that, and a new sort of chapter in her life. So I talked with her about things which I've found helpful, and
what makes you think or believe that she might be your soulmate?
I've always been attracted to her, but because she was younger than me, she's about 4 years younger, I felt guilty about being attracted to someone younger, and she left when she was, I think, 14 was like, I never saw, I really didn't see her again after she was 14, you know. And
then she moved, like...
She moved, and she had feelings towards me. When I went into the priesthood, her mother told me that she was quite sad about that and felt like that she was wanting perhaps to interfere with that, but felt like she shouldn't interfere with that if that's what I wanted to do.
So you were still in contact with her family?
Well, our parents were in contact with each other, so telling each other what was happening, you know, yeah.
So she was in relationship at that time?
When I went into the priesthood, I don't know.
You don't know, but...
I'm thinking she wasn't at that time.
Okay, so she had feelings for you?
Yes.
Still, and you had still feeling for her?
Yes.
But at that time, you were not ashamed that she was 4 years younger than you?
And no, I wouldn't have been, but because she was living a long way away and I didn't know where she was, and yeah, I'd sort of forgotten about her really, because it was only when we were younger that I knew her.
But when you learned that she was concerned about you, or she was...
I only learned that years later.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I didn't learn that at the time. If I had known that at the time, it would have been very different, you know.
Imagine your life would maybe potentially have been very different.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But you still had to go through all the hardship of being yourself.
Yes, that's right. No, that's right.
Thank you for sharing. I kind of like this soulmate
stories. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
How has your relationship with other people evolved since you discover divine truth and you kind of start to practice and release some errors from your soul? How would you say your relationship with other people, including your family, has changed?
Look, I think that when I found out about divine truth, I think I was more unloving and less kind to people. I think I was less tolerant and less patient of people, and I think I was more arrogant of people and more judgmental of people, I think. Whereas, and my family included, and I think I had expectations that people should get this, and, you know, everyone should get their stuff together, you know. Whereas now I sort of feel like more compassionate to people and more humble in the way that I realise what I hate in them is in me, you know, that same sort of unkindness towards people and things like that. So I feel more aware of myself, and so now I feel I'm developing a more sincere attitude of kindness or acceptance or tolerance of people as I'm developing that tolerance in myself and acceptance in myself, in my own shortcomings, you know.
Even so, you don't play the good boy as much these days.
No.
Which was more of a facade than a sincere interest for others or feeling for others. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a question about addictions, you know. Addiction part of a way to keep our facade and trying to feel good, and divine truth teaching really encourages us to look at our addictions and kind to deconstruct them, and not trying to avoid our pain, but just seeing, like, you know. And I see loads of people and are getting angry and unhappy about their life because they kind of start to remove the little things making them a bit happy, and then there is nothing else. And so lots of people like end up angry and so angry that at some point they decide they leave. They don't want to listen anymore, and they go back to their previous life if it's possible, and to the same addictions. But what has been your experience there with your addictions? And
My addictions mostly have been addictions with needing people's approval,
Yes.
and sort of pleasing, and still staying in that Catholic sort of, and it's really a manipulation on my part to get people to like me, and so that is and continues to be my biggest sort of struggle, to be true to people like that, I forget the second part.
Have you ever been like challenging your addiction to such a place that you got depressed and you wanted to leave and to stop and to give up with the way?
Only for a little tantrum that I'm angry with God, thinking this is too hard, I hate this. Yeah. Only to release some anger, really, at God, because I think this is unfair. It should be easier and all that sort of stuff. But the truth is, I could never leave this path, because I know it's the truth, and I know it's the way to God, and it's working. It's happening, it's happening. My unfolding happiness and connection with God is happening, so no, I could not leave it, and I've never considered seriously leaving it.
How is your relationship with yourself? How is it changed, or if it has in any way?
More self-love and awareness and tolerance and sort of acceptance, and that feels really nice. It feels really nice because the more that I'm really me, then my neediness for anybody else drops off, for a woman or something, and it's really a nice place to be, to think I'm okay just within myself, and what do I want to do, It sort of feels good and feels true, and it's a nice place to be, really. So yes.
How is your relationship with the environment evolved?
It continues to evolve. I was vegetarian for about 10 years prior to learning the truth, so I sort of had a love of the environment already, and I'd been a caretaker of the land for many years, which was a wonderful thing, and I loved improving the land and sort of to try to make it better than worse from my... In saying that, I did carry out practices like putting poisons on the soil and that, because I was after the money as well.
Yes.
So
as a farmer, you mean?
As a farmer, so that certainly wasn't improving the soil. But so it's a continuing, love of nature and in the environment, really. Yeah.
So do you think it has grown?
Yes.
Further?
Yes.
Since you in the last 11 years?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And my fascination with it and the way it sort of... We're connected in an emotion, like it responds emotionally to me, and, with animals and lots of things. I think it's quite remarkable, the whole thing, and the life and the gift, the abundance of nature and all. It's quite beautiful, Has
your life become more enjoyable or more painful since you discovered it?
That's a tricky question, isn't it? I'd have to say both, because not being in my own delusion sort of it does create some pain. Yeah. It's sort of nearly happier, easier having my head in the sand and having my own delusion about myself and about the world, and so I'd have to say more painful in that sense, but a lot less confusion, and that's a beautiful thing. A lot less confusion and sort of more feel more connected with God and supported by God, and sort of feel that it's quite scary thinking that I've got to take responsibility for my own life and grow up a bit and stand on my own 2 feet. I think, oh no, I don't want to do that, so that's quite scary and quite confronting as well, to think it's time I grow up. So that's painful. Well, it's not really painful, because it's only painful the fear of it. And then when I make that shift, I think, this is really living. This is where life should be lived from, you know, so it's just the fear of it.
Yes. That makes a mixed feeling that you talk about.
Yes.
Because there are still a lot of fears. They are not just all gone, that
No.
there is no more pain.
Yes, that's right.
And you are more aware of them as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's a mixed feeling, like you say.
That's it.
It's not all beautiful and easy and
No.
lullaby. No.
No, that's right.
Not in the not the first years, at least. And it will take as long as we decide, we resist.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's our own choosing. So you believe the way to God as it is taught by Jesus and Mary is a true thing, is the only way. So, like the teaching, like if you receive enough of God's love in your soul,
Yep.
your soul will be transformed.
Yes.
And you will be a different creature.
Yes.
And you will be you will enter the God's the kingdom, celestial kingdom.
Yes.
And you won't have any pain, and
Yes.
you won't have any and you will be immortal, and all these things you believe in your heart.
Yes.
It is a possibility that's open to you and to anybody else.
Yeah. Yep. I believe I'll be at one with God, you know, in just I don't know how long it'll take, but I just believe it'll just take some years, and that'll be it. Just like Jesus did in the first century. I just feel like it's just happening.
And do you really believe that anybody could
Yes.
follow the same
Yes.
journey?
Yeah, I do. Yep, I just think that's just the way it works. You just be a humble child of God. You just open your heart. You long for God's love. God gives you love. You just sort of grow in that relationship until all your errors sort of fall off, and you become a totally open child of God, you know. I just think it's wonderful, and it's just happening, really. So, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes. Among the Divine Truth follower, I don't see many people growing happy. I see many people growing unhappy, and it's not very attractive to other people, you know.
Yes.
It feels like just a journey of pain, and what's the point?
Yes.
You know. But what would you say to the people, like hearing about Divine Truth for the first time, like about that, like or meeting Divine Truth people, and that they don't look very very happy in their life.
Yeah.
They are self-centered in their own pain and all these things.
I would say that it's quite a transition to go from to attempt this journey. I think it really requires some courage to sort of want to own our emotions and to be fully responsible and to grow up, really, to grow up to be ourselves and to have this sort of surrendering relationship with God. I think it's a narrow path. I think it's not an easy walk in the park, you know. So I think that we need to be tolerant of ourselves and others who are embarking on it, you know, and to hopefully love them and support them, and that they're allowed to make mistakes, and we do make mistakes, and we do get it wrong, and there'll be times when, you know, we're going to be unhappy because we've got unhappiness in us. Not only that, but also because we're doing it wrong. We're wanting to sort of do it our way, and sort of hear something and think, oh yeah, I'll sort of do it this way, you know. And also I feel it's early days, you know. At times I feel like I'm going in the dark, you know, like I've got to sort of really want to see stuff myself, and that takes a fair bit of doing, and when I really want to, I do, but at times I get frustrated thinking, why don't I just get all the answers and have someone just help me, hold me hand through it all? And so at times I feel quite alone and also some confusion with what's going on here, and feel quite unfairly treated at times as well. Like, it feels quite unfair. I'm trying to be nice, and I'm attracting these people being angry with me, or attracting people not being kind to me, and that, So the world's a pretty harsh place, certainly. I feel that. I feel like a lot of people have got love in their hearts and can be kind, but a lot of people too can be unkind and be quite mean, So I feel that it's not easy, But I feel it's totally worth it, and I'm rapt that I have this knowledge and some faith and that. I think it's a beautiful opportunity, and a beautiful opportunity in the early stages. I think the earlier the stages, the more challenging as well. I think we're very lucky to have this opportunity that to want to know God and the truth and stuff. So yeah, I'm quite excited. About the possibilities and about the changing world. How awesome is it going to be? I think it's wonderful, really.
So would you recommend listening to the Divine Truth teaching and engaging it to anybody else?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even so, it's not an easy path.
Yes, that's right. But so many rewards, so much wonderful stuff comes from, as we know in life, by stretching ourselves, by taking on challenges, by trying new things. It's sort of the spice of life, change, and this is the ultimate, I feel, in that opportunity, and I think it's fantastic.
We are ending up the last part of the interview. Is there something else you wish to share before we conclude?
One thing which I hope to do in the future, is that I hope to be in a place where I don't feel ashamed of myself. I feel quite happy with just how I am, and that I could share my experiences with people, and
be an inspiration to others.
Yeah. If people want to listen, to hear of what it's like for me, and to tell and share my life with people, I think that would be awesome. And I do like telling like stories of inspirational people and stuff like that, heartfelt stories, and that's something which I perhaps may do in the future with people,
I think you already started to do quite a bit of open, sincere sharing and being inspirational to others today.
Oh, thank you, mate.
Yeah, so I'm really grateful for your time.
Thank you
for sharing here honestly and taking the risk of being yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And all the best in your journey.
Thank
to
you,
God,
mate.
and hopefully see you there at in the celestial heaven one day.
Awesome, mate. That'll be so beautiful. And thank you for this opportunity. I see opportunities like this as wonderful opportunity to be myself, to learn more about myself, and to share myself. So I'm really grateful.
Exactly.
And also to connect with you in this way has been really nice, and to have your heartfelt interest is really lovely.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.